Welcome to Pushing the Limits, the podcast that gets deep into the psyche of extraordinary achievers across all genres, cutting to the chase to unlock the secrets of their success, their achievement, philosophies, and motivations. Join us in the quest to find out what makes the movers and shakers of our world tick and what gems of wisdom we can learn from them. Now, over to your host, Lisa Tamati. Welcome to Pushing the Limits, the podcast that gets deep into the psyche of extraordinary achievers across all genres, cutting to the chase to unlock the secrets of their success, their achievement, philosophies, and motivations. Join us in the quest to find out what makes the movers and shakers of our world tick and what gems of wisdom we can learn from them. Now, over to your host, Lisa Tamati.
Hi everybody, it's Lisa Tamati here from Pushing the Limits, and today I'm coming to you live from Pilates New Plymouth, and I've got Chris Ure with me here today, and she is the owner and founder of Pilates New Plymouth. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks Lisa, it's good to be here.
So Chris, I've just arrived in your wonderful studio and it looks pretty high tech. Tell me a little bit about these machines that I can see in the background here.
Okay, well, what you're seeing right now are the reformers, and they are a standard piece of Pilates equipment that Joseph Pilates designed 80 years ago, I suppose, but obviously more high-tech than they used to be. They're awesome fun. You can do all sorts of things here, lying on them, standing on them, kneeling on them, all sorts. So we can work in a lot of ranges of motions, and we can work with really easy, simple exercises and really complicated ones to challenge the core, the stability and the balance of the body. So hence we lie, sit, stand on these machines. So yeah,
so that is
awesome.
The reformers. So they look like a sliding sort of rowing machine sort of type thing.
They do, and you can actually do a rowing machine type movement, but that's not what they're all about. It's far more, and it's awesome fun, lots of fun.
Well, let's go back a little bit to the beginning. You mentioned the founder, Joseph, was it?
Joseph Pilates.
Joseph Pilates. That's why did he come up with the system, and what's it all about? What was his, little bit of background on his story?
Well, he was actually a German, and when he was growing up, he was quite sickly. His father did all sorts of performing kind of arts sort of things and circusy type stuff, so they were quite acrobatic family. Joseph was not well, and he studied the human body, and he studied exercise, and he came up with great exercises, and he just got stronger and stronger and stronger. He then went to England as a young man and worked in some hospitals, and apparently started fiddling around with hospital beds and using bed springs to help people sit themselves up and do all sorts of things like that. So he was almost like a pioneering physiotherapist, if you like. Then then the war broke out, so he went back to Germany, obviously, and he was hired by Hitler's army to train the troops. So he didn't actually want to do that, but he had to. Apparently, this is the way I read it. And but he was very, very good at his exercise regimes and got people really fit and strong. So then as soon as the war was over, he took off to New York, and he did not want to be in Germany. So he set himself up as an exercise instructor, a bit of a guru there in New York, and ended up working with all the stars and celebrities and dance people in New York. So he was a real icon, and he had some awesome people that followed his career and started working with him and for him, and then it's just generated from there. So
so that's back in the 1940s or 30s and 40s.
Something like that,
so it's got a huge background, huge body of knowledge behind the whole system, and of course in the last it's probably been in my consciousness, Pilates, I suppose, for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, probably New Zealand's a wee bit slower than the rest of the world, so we have caught up. So, yeah, definitely 10 to 15 years ago it probably came to New Zealand a wee bit, but it's never been, like in the bigger cities, obviously it's been around a bit more, and there's more studios. Here in New Plymouth there wasn't a studio. There was a physiotherapist 10 or 12 years ago that would have done some Pilates, and that was Isla. I don't know, can't think of her last name, but she was wonderful. So she was the pioneering one in New Plymouth, but then she left town and went to Aussie, so there was no one here for a long time. Another girl came and did a bit of mat work mainly, and then she stopped and went and did something else, and it was like, okay, I really...
There's a niche market.
Yeah, so there was definitely an opportunity to do something and open a studio. So most people that teach Pilates, a lot of them in smaller centres teach from home, so they have 1 or 2 clients, and I just really wanted to not be at home. I wanted to be out with a nice professional studio. So we've got other equipment here as well, and we've got our instructors, we like them to be trained, and we train with Stop Pilates, which is a really world-renowned, recognised Pilates training centre. So so it's all pretty cool.
So you've been here for 2 years now?
In this location I've been here just over 6 months, about 8 months I suppose now, but I've been teaching almost 2.5 years, so it's been great.
And so if we go over to the actual benefits of Pilates now, obviously I'm a runner, and I've come from doing 20 odd years of just running, and then discovering that, hey, I'm getting older and things are falling to pieces, and then realising, and something that we're really big on with Running Hot Coaching, our coaching retail arm of the podcast, if you like, is mobility and strength work, and the importance of that for runners, but for athletes across the board. And the older we get, the more important this part of the equation becomes, doesn't it? Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely, most definitely. So in regard to Pilates, using it as a tool with your other training, for athletes in particular, we would, instead of going out for the hundreds and hundreds of miles and just wearing your joints out and everything, we can get a nice work through the core, through some stability muscles, to balance your body more evenly, so that if you have got a bit of a awkward gait, we can try and improve that, so you're not going to wear the joints out, that kind of thing. And we work into stability of not only the core, because everyone likes to talk about core stability.
It's not just your six-pack.
Well, it's not even the six-pack, it's deeper than that. So so we do work on the core, but we also work on the stability of other joints, such as the knees, the hips, the shoulders, and they're really important for our posture. We also, when people come in, we do a postural analysis of them. So we find out if, what their goals are, any medical issues that they might have, and any injuries that they might be prone to or have had. And then we can look at their overall alignment, and we look from the feet right up to the top of the head and say, you stand a bit funny. You know, we can kind of point out, okay, you roll your foot in, you need to do this. Your knee alignment now. And so once you can align them a little bit better by using the right muscles and switching the right muscles on, then they find that their knee feels better, or their hip feels better, or their back feels better, so that you can just straighten them up a little bit.
That kinetic change, that's what we call it. We're talking about the knock-on effect. When your hip drops when you're running, then your knee caves in, and then your ankle caves in as well. So it's those sorts of things that are really important. So it's working with the deeper muscles too, isn't it? So when we say core, I mean, I'm really big on a strong core, because I've had a back injury and I know the importance of having a strong core. But core, when you say that, everyone goes, oh, six-pack, and it's going, well, that's the pretty stuff. But what are some of the parts that it really gets into, doing the Pilates sort of stuff? What other parts of the core area are you working with?
Okay, so when we talk about the core, we're talking about the pelvic floor, we're talking about the transverse abdominals. So these are the deepest layer of abdominals, and they don't actually move us, they just hold us. So that's the very deep layer. We also talk about the multifidus, which is a muscle that runs right up the spine, and that is our core stability of the spine. So we have those muscles, along with the diaphragm, I would say, are pretty important, which is why we always talk about breathing with Pilates as well. So with all of those four muscles, so the pelvic floor, the transverse abdominals, the diaphragm, and the multifidus, those are the deepest layer of our core. These are the ones that we need to focus on first of all. So they're the deepest ones. They're our number one stability of the core. Then we can layer on other muscles. So your obliques, your abdominal obliques, we've got two sets of them, the internal, the external, and they also hold us, but they move us as well. So they've got a dual role. So we use them as a secondary stabilizer when we're doing exercises, but they also help us move. Then of course you have got the lovely six-pack, the Rectus Abdominus. That's just purely for show. It's a mover. It's all it does is move. If you've got a massive six-pack abs, hopefully you've got something deeper underneath.
Depending if you've been doing the right exercises.
So, but you can still get a sore back with a big six-pack if you haven't got a good core. So that's really a functional movement muscle, not a core stability muscle. So so we start deep. So
and you touched on a subject there of breathing, and I'm really into. I just took a deep breath in because I thought, I haven't been breathing properly. I'm very much conscious of having a daily breath-focused practice and the importance of that. And I was listening to a podcast just recently, and they were going, Pilates don't breathe properly. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. They were talking about what sport arts are really good at breathing. They were mentioning yoga, they were mentioning martial arts, and they said things like golf were terrible at breathing. And Pilates was terrible at breathing. I thought, I'll give you a chance to have a rebuttal at that one. What would you say?
Okay, so I think that with different things, we do breathe differently. So, for example, look, I've done yoga in the past, but I've never done it a lot. So don't know 100%, but I do know that the breath is deep, it's big, you hold it a lot. So it's not what I would call a natural breath. It's a lovely breath, and it's great to get stretch and relaxation with those beautiful deep breaths. They also do a little bit more, I believe, belly breathing. So they breathe deeper into the belly. Breathing. So that's it. So, and that's all very nice for relaxation. But when you're actually active and running, you probably need a more functional breath. So the Pilates breathing, we believe that you should breathe into the deepest lobes of the lungs, where the oxygenation takes place the most. So we want people to expand through their rib cage, around the back and sides of the rib cage, the most when they breathe in, and then just expel the air when they breathe out. We don't tend to hold the breath terribly much. We tend to just breathe in and breathe out, and we breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we do focus the breath on what we're doing. So for example, with the pelvic floor, if we want to engage the pelvic floor correctly, we would inhale, and then as we exhale, we'd lift the pelvic floor gently, and you would get that diaphragmatic pull to help you lift the pelvic floor. So it teaches you how to engage things properly with our breathing. But it's very functional, and you know, there's lots of ways to breathe. If you
it sounds like diaphragmatic breathing to me, because I mean that's what it is, using the lower lobes of your lungs and breathing into your stomach. But, I did have issue when I read that. I thought, hang on, do you know? But then I was like, I haven't done Pilates, maybe they don't. So
but if you look at it with yoga and Pilates, because people are often confused about, what's the difference?
What is the difference?
And so, the difference is that Pilates hasn't been around that long, and it's more of a calisthenic type exercise form, whereas yoga is a Middle Eastern. I'm sorry, I really get mixed up with that, but it's ancient. It's ancient.
It's thousands of years old.
So it is a lot different, and it's a lot of flexibility, a lot of meditative stuff. Pilates, not so much meditative. So we can do, relax the shoulders, do this sort of thing, but we don't.
So it's minus the spiritual element and minus the meditative. Not that meditation is spiritual, but it can be within the realms of yoga especially, so depending on what you want, whether that's and I think both of them are actually complementary to each other, and that mobility is really, really important. Now when you say you're stabilising the joints, are you working to get full range of motion in the joints?
Yes, you are. So we have clients that are athletes, and they might have a niggly knee or something. So we will work on strengthening into that knee joint, and we'll work on the vasti muscles, which help track the patellar tendon. So those are stabilisers of the knee joint. So they're also part of the quadriceps, which are bigger and more powerful together as a group. So, but we focus on the littler parts first, and we look at stability or balance of standing. So when you challenge people's balance, their proprioception, all those muscles of proprioception, which are stability muscles, they'll all kick in. So we want to work on that's the kind of work we do. We will do full ranges of movement as well, and we might focus on a smaller range too, because everyone knows that if someone breaks an arm, you set it in a position that's the nicest bit, and then that's the easiest bit to recover, and then you work the ability of that joint from there. Once you're out of plaster, but it's a bit similar with muscles. We want to work them so that we work them in their strongest or the most neutral position that they can be in, and then we extend that out. So if people have got niggly injuries, we work them in that mid-range first until they're pain-free as they lengthen out and move into that next range of movement. So we want to get people in a full range of movement, but we'll just do it a little bit more carefully probably.
Sounds really good. Is it something that would help with stroke rehabilitation? People like my mum's got issues with their balance, so the older generation who perhaps, they're not, it's not just for young athletes, is it?
Gosh, no, it's for any age group. My 78-year-old mother comes, and in fact she's 79. Let me get that right. She'll be 80 this year. So we've got all age ranges here. I've got a gentleman that has Parkinson's disease that comes, so it's really challenging for him to do some exercises, and he has got the best sense of humour. So he's got a lovely dry sense of humour, and I say, so how are you going with that? And he'll, joke about it and say, well, how many do I have to do? But, it's awesome for everyone, and we do work specifically on balance issues, especially with the older age group. We do actually challenge their balance.
Which is fantastic. Because I'm obviously dealing with those sort of issues at home at the moment. Falls are the biggest cause of disability amongst the elderly, or one of the biggest things. So one of the things that I stand for is the older you get, the more you have to train, not the less you have to train. You have to change your training, for sure. Each decade that I've gone through, there's been a few now, it's gone from being, you get away with murder in your 20s. You can smash your body to pieces and keep going and keep smashing it, and don't have to worry too much about mobility and strength and all the rest of it. You've got the muscles. In my 30s it changed, and in my 40s it's definitely changing. But I find the older you get, the more you have to concentrate on mobility, on resistance training, on your hormone levels, keeping those balanced, and not so much the junk miles or the massive, doing the kilometres, unless that's, if you're doing ultramarathons, there's a certain amount you need to be doing for that. But generally speaking, the older you get, the harder you have to work.
Yeah, I think to an extent, depending on what your lifestyle goals are. So, we have people that want to have a better swing at golf and maintain that. So, come to Pilates so you don't seize up around the hips and around the back, and get more mobility through the core, and more strength through the core to support you while you're doing the movements. So we can make things quite specific to what people's needs are. One of the things about getting older that a lot of people find it hard to get out of a chair. So their quads need some work. Quads need some work, glutes need some work. We need to fire into those muscles and get our glute med working. So that's your stability muscle. There's 3 glute muscles: minimum, medium and maximum. Well, maximum just sits there looking pretty, and the others work a little bit deeper, but the glute med is the one for stability in the hip joint. So, and once again it comes back to postural alignment. So if you've got your feet placed correctly, your muscles of your calves work and your ankles work well, then you draw up through the kneecaps, so you're drawing up through those vasty muscles, and then before you know it, you've got your glutes on and you didn't even realise. So it's just aligning people better.
Those glutes are something that, I know probably 90% of the runners that we work with have problems their glutes don't fire, including my own, in the right order and at the right time. So that's a really major one, I think, probably for people to have. So what are your experiences? How have the people in New Plymouth taken to Pilates New Plymouth? Have they, rushed in the door and it's been great?
Actually, well, I did feel like within the first month it was like, wow, this is going really well. And I've built up over time, and we've split into 2 different, different location now, and we've got more staff working as well. So, it has been ticking over really nicely. The guys have been a bit slow to join, but we do have a lot of guys here, but a lot of them think that it's just for girls.
It's definitely not.
They liken it to kind of dancey or, Pilates, but more guys are going to yoga now too, but they're also now coming to Pilates, so which is really, really good. And we do have, like I said, we've got a couple of athletes that are coming along and finding it really super cool and groovy.
We've just had the ladies pop out of the class who've obviously look like you've been working out hard. But I would agree, even nowadays, the Navy SEALs, the SAS, they're all doing like mobility work.
Yep.
They're all starting to appreciate the value of doing the likes of Pilates and perhaps yoga as well. And it isn't just for girls, and it isn't just for women, and it's not easy.
No, it's definitely not easy. We can really make people sweat.
Yeah. It's a different type of fitness.
It totally is. It's a lot of strength. So, you're holding a lot of strength in a lot of the moves that we do, and on a moving platform. So it can be very, very challenging.
Yeah, really challenging.
Yeah.
So, just to wrap up the podcast for today, people, firstly, where can they find you guys? So what's your website and your social media, anything you've got?
Okay, so our websites are www.pilatesnewplymouth.co.nz, and you can get hold of us by just emailing info@pilatesnewplymouth.co.nz. We are situated 28 Northgate in New Plymouth, and we have a Facebook page, so just Google
Pilates
Facebook Pilates New Plymouth, and Instagram, which Alana started that for me.
So I came across you. Good on social media.
Yeah. So we've just started doing that one as well. So you can see a few moves here and there. We'll put a few things on. So it should be interesting, and you can keep up to date with us. We have an online booking system through our website, so people can certainly book that way.
So you've got lots of classes. You have one-on-ones. You have studio group workouts, and then small group workouts. And they can come with a specific injury, especially,
absolutely.
Because rehabilitation is just such a big part of
we do get referrals from physios and osteopaths, etc. So, it's working really well, and we offer pre and postnatal as well, plus the over 65 specific age group classes as well. So,
Mum, you're coming to Pilates in Plymouth next. All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for taking the time today and to showing us around the studio. Any last words of wisdom from a Pilates teacher to the world? What would you say?
Let's see. Think about your posture wherever you are. Stand tall, sit tall, engage the core, and just really think about your posture and breathe.
Ooh, very good. Well wrapped up perfectly.
Perfectly good.
So thanks everybody for tuning in today, and we will see you again very, very soon.
That's it for this episode of Pushing the Limits with your host, Lisa Tamati. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, and share all this goodness with your networks so we can impact more lives with positive insights and inspiring conversations. And check us out online at www.lisatamati.co.nz.